Just briefly on Mourinho, do you think we're going from the chosen ones to special ones? Do you think if he fails at Benfica, he's got nowhere else to go apart from national teams?
The thing is, he wants to go to the Portuguese national team. Mourinho has the job of Portugal national side promised to him for a few months now from the new chairman of the Football Federation, which was Pedro Proença, a referee back in his day. And he was expected to be in charge in June. But then Roberto Martinez won the League of Nations and they couldn't sack him because it was the second trophy of Portugal in the competition. So you cannot sack a manager who has just beat Spain in a final. So he's waiting to the World Cup because Robert Martinez will probably walk out. If he wins the World Cup, he will walk out voluntarily because he knows that he's already done what he is proposed to do. And if he loses, which is more likely to happen, then we'll be sacked. And Mourinho is just waiting. I think Mourinho's plan was to be in Turkey this season, just waiting, buying his time. And then the sacking from Fenerbahce opened a possibility to go to Benfica, which is his club from childhood. So he gets to stay in Portugal, gets to stay near his family. And probably for him is just a small internship before the real deal begins in July when he takes over Portugal after the World Cup. Probably a Portugal without Cristiano Ronaldo, which is one of the things that he's buying his time to not coincide
Mm.
with Ronaldo because an ego is too much for the national side of Portugal too would be just
So
catastrophe.
that would be Mourinho as the coach on the in the build up to the World Cup that Portugal is
Exactly.
co-hosting. Right? Yeah. All
That's the
it all
idea.
fits. It all fits. We'll get to the 2030 World Cup in a minute. I hope, Dalton.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Let's try and get as much in as we can of this conversation. I saw Jose Mourinho being interviewed after the Europe Champions League match against Chelsea the other day. He's returned to Chelsea, much touted, and Jose is no stranger to drama. However, he posed a different character. I think there's a sobering experience that he had in Turkey, and I imagine it's the same for anybody who's been hyped up to his level. When you suddenly realise you're not that special, you're not that special, and we saw
Is is he
the
capable of making such a realization?
I think he's changed now. I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, you tell me, Miguel. I don't think he's the same person, and you could see what his shortcomings were. If you saw Galatasaray's amazing victory over Liverpool in the Champions League, I mean, okay, it was settled by a penalty or whatever, but Galatasaray are no pushovers, and despite the fact that Jose huffed and puffed in the Turkish Super League, he couldn't get near Galatasaray. And I think that experience has sobered him up somewhat. Anyway, he came across as a very, determined. He certainly didn't show any, and he wouldn't, would he? Didn't show any sense of, oh, I'm just biding my time here at Benfica. It would be disrespectful to the fans and to the history of the club and so on. However, I wonder if you've noticed a change in Jose Mourinho, however temporary his time will be at Benfica.
I think the greatest change is that he played his first Champions League match in 5 years. And if you talk about Jose Mourinho 10 years ago and you say Mourinho is going to spend 5 years without playing a Champions League match, not coaching national sides, but coaching actual football clubs, you would say you're a lunatic. I think that was the thing that sobered him up. To be at Stamford Bridge for his first Champions League match since he played for Tottenham against Leipzig, it's a long, long time for a manager like Mourinho. I think he relished the experience to be back with the big boys after spending not only the 2 years in Turkey but also his period at Roma. And I think he wants to make the most of it because he knows he's going to transition to international management. And once you transition to international management, it's hardly an impossibility of coming back at all. And like we said before, he's aiming at 2030, so he's aiming the 4 next years to be all focused on Portugal. And I think he wants to make this experience less tense, less about him, about his ego, about his character. Because also, if he wants to be Portugal's national manager, he cannot be as volatile and as aggressive as he usually is because he's now coaching Benfica. So you cannot have the Porto supporters or the Sporting supporters against you all the time because they are going to have your back in 8 months' time, probably. And you cannot be downplaying Benfica as well as a great institution Benfica is, because if you're going to leave them in 8 months and you already know that you're probably going to leave them, regardless of the results, then they will probably have a bad image of you. So he's playing like a juggler tossing a lot of balls into the air, trying to keep the equilibrium there. So it's very unlikely that we'll see the old Mourinho in the next few months. I think things must go very sideways for him if we have to catch his old persona back on the game.